Recognize the member for Portland Simons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the opposition joins with the government House Leader and the government today in our support of this legislation. But today is not just about passing positive, progressive, thoughtful legislation, which it is. It's also the celebration of a meaningful life of a great New Brunswicker, Ellen Waters. And we certainly want to take this opportunity on our side as well to acknowledge her family here today. And you know, I worked over the last year with Wayne Aerosmith and other members, and we always maintained on this side of the House that we wanted to work with the government, that we wanted a government-led bill, that would be the best way to do it. I want to thank the government House Leader for reaching out and continuing to involve both myself and the member from Sussex in this legislation as it's being drafted, and as we go forward, not just with this legislation, but with more work that has to happen as a result of this. And this legislation makes sense on so many different levels. From the perspective of leaving far less environmental footprint, Mr. Speaker, it makes sense to have alternative means of travel, like cycling. From a health perspective, it makes sense to have healthy and active lifestyles, and cycling can provide that. But our streets have to be safe. And with this legislation, it's an important step forward. The member from Fredericton, York today, actually, we were talking about this legislation going in, and he reminded me of the work of the late Ruth Baird, a cyclist here in Fredericton, and her work as well. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a great example of how this legislature should work. Reaching across the aisle of all members to work together. We have our political differences, as I've said many times in this House, and we need to be true to those philosophies and differences. But this is an opportunity, what we need to take advantage of more often. And maybe Ellen's life not only will spark awareness around cycling safety, but also give us an example of how all of us in this legislature can work together for the betterment of this province. So let's get this legislation done, Mr. Speaker. Let's do it because it makes sense, and let's do it in memory of Ellen as well.